Hello everybody and welcome to the Royal Blue podcast. We are here in the Liverpool ECHO offices. I am Matt Jones. Joining me, as ever, it's a new double act. It's me and Conor O'Neill again, here to talk about the Blues. Both a bit tired today. I was on the desk last night. You were there at Doncaster, mate. How are you feeling today?
Tired. Tired and relieved.
At least tomorrow should be nice and quiet anyway.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's not on transfer deadline day, does it?
Well, sometimes it doesn't.
Quite literally. A few months ago, tired and relieved. I think is the overriding feeling today. A very late night followed by a very early morning start, especially as we'll touch on. I was down at Sean Dyche's press conference earlier to preview Sheffield United and obviously, a bit of an insight into where things stand transfer-wise at Everton. But I think relief more than anything last night that Everton did manage to get over the line after being, we're going to come on to it, pretty woeful for large parts of last night's game.
Yeah, I mean, just thinking about it now, it's going to be flashbacks. We will do Dyche, we will do deadline day, and we'll do some Sheffield United as well to finish. But like I said, let's start off with Doncaster. I'm going to ask you two questions. I'll answer them myself as well, so I'm just putting you on the spot. The first one is, coming away from that game last night, do you feel better or worse about Everton's prospects for the season?
I certainly didn't feel... I think both motions really. I felt better in the sense of, I know it was only against League 2 opposition, and they're bottom of League 2, and people, but Beto and Danjuma looked like they showed a little bit of class, and they got, certainly elements to the game that Everton have been drastically missing, certainly for a large part of last season and this season. So I think they were the positives that, Beto got on the goal trail straight away. Danjuma obviously got his first goal, but looked really, energetic and lively. Was unlucky, hit the bar with a great effort from the edge of the box. So I felt positive in that sense that what we'd seen from them too perhaps indicates that there could be a bit of a brighter future in terms of going forward. But we're still absolutely probably traumatised by what I witnessed for 40, certainly 45 minutes, but definitely 60, because Everton were pretty woeful, and it was an alarming wake-up call to think that this side is capable of having some bad nights at the office. Last night's beauty was that they were only playing a League 2 opposition who couldn't quite punish them or couldn't quite finish them off during that first half. If that was against the Premier League side, they'd have been 4 or 5 down at half time. There's no doubt in that. Maybe even a good Championship side would have took them to the cleaners. So it was a night of mixed emotions, I think, because while you were quietly positive what you saw from Beto and Danjuma, what we witnessed from so many what we would call senior players during that first half was nothing short of alarming.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I think they sort of even each other out in a way. Maybe I don't know. I'm not sure anyone could even out those first 60 minutes, to be honest. But there were positives coming away from it, so I tend to be in agreement with you there.
I think the big positive is Everton have signed a centre forward who's come in, looked a real handful, and scored a goal.
Yeah, absolutely.
Three things that we haven't seen much of in the last couple of years.
It's not been so straightforward for us to do that. Down the years, has it? But I suppose the other question I was going to ask you, and we'll get the negative part of this chat out the way now, because you mentioned the first hour there. Is that the worst you've ever seen Everton play?
Right up there, yeah.
Because it was a situation where I was sort of watching it, and obviously they don't start well. In your snap piece you did for the game, you mentioned about the first minute and how that sort of set the tone, and it was very calamitous. Been a moments from Michael Keane and Jordan Pickford, and you think, oh God, that's not good. And then you get to 10 minutes, think, right, now we'll start the show, and then you get to 20 and you think, right, what's happening here? And then you get to 30, and then you get to 40, and then you can see that it's like, and I was sort of watching it myself, and I had people messaging me about it, and I was texting my mates, I was like, is this bad? Like, is this the worst we've ever been? And I don't mean in terms of an effort point of view, but just from technical aspects, in terms of trapping the ball, completing passes, having a bit of style of play, movement, all those things. And it got to the point where it was so bad that when you get people who don't really watch football and Everton are on the telly and they've seen them and they text you and you're like, what's going on with that? What's going on with Everton? I had 2 or 3 people being like, "Oh, I'm really sorry about what's going on here." But that first hour, I think, is right up there with one of the worst I've ever seen from an Everton side.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. Also based on the fact of the players that were out on show.
Yeah.
This wasn't a kind of thrown together team of a few youngsters, a few kind of senior pros, a couple of players working their way back into fitness. It was essentially a full strength team from Everton, and one that there's a strong possibility could have lined up in a Premier League game for them. Maybe Barjah, Brownfoot, and James Sarkozy coming as centre back.
Yeah.
Apart from that, there's every chance you could have seen them players line up for a Premier League game. So that's what made it more worrying. And I think there's a lot of players who had the chance to stake a claim to Sean Dyche, and they didn't. Vitaly Mykolenko enjoyed what can only be described as a torrid evening. Nathan Patterson was also torrid. So much so that he was obviously hauled off for half time. I mean, Sean Dyche said after Villa, didn't he? Could have took any one of 11 off. I think, if we're being honest, he could have took any one of 11 off last night as well, because it was that poor. It was just, for me, like I say, it just that Pickford moments in the first minute summed it up for me, in the sense of sometimes it's about standards and mentality, and doing the right things at the right time, and that to me just felt like almost like an overconfidence of it's League Two, League Cup, I'll take a couple of extra touches, and he was nearly embarrassed.
He's our best player.
And he's our best player. And captain, he was captain again last night. And you think, well, if he's doing that, what message does that then send to the rest of the team? I wrote that, last night, that Everton kind of got away with it in the end, and they did turn the tie around. But yeah, it was a pretty strange night, and one I think in which you look back on and think, hopefully to turn and putting out for all the right reasons, in the sense of Sean Dyche. There's probably a good chance we might not see some of them players play for Sean Dyche again. Certainly in the immediate. But this could be the start now of things changing a little bit. But yeah, something's got to change. Something's got to change fast, because Everton can't start games like that. We've seen it at Villa Park. They just can't. They can't start with that kind of laid back, laissez-faire approach, because it nearly come back to bite last night. They did come back to bite at Villa because they were 2-0 down before I think they even got going. But yeah, it was a strange old night, one which relief that Everton won, but also at the same time left you with a lot of questions more than answers. Yeah,
100%. And I was really disappointed in players like James Garner and Amadou Onana. Obviously young players, but a game like that, it's right, you've not got, I think Onana's called just a guy sort of his big brother figure in the past. You've not got him there now. Show us what you're all about. Get on the ball and dominate against the team that you should be able to. And listen, I appreciate the tactics weren't really conducive with.
What's the tactics?
Getting midfielders on the yeah, well, maybe not. The tactics. I did that in very commas then for anyone listening to the podcast. But it's one of them where you think, come on lads, you're technically good. Get on the football and show what you're all about. And the ball was either being bouncing off the midfield and they'd lose it cheaply, or it was just getting launched over the red by the full-backs and the centre-backs. But listen, you won't dwell on that any longer, because thinking about some of the moments in the first half.
They couldn't get out, could they? I mean, the back four couldn't get up the pitch. They were just penned back. There was massive gaps then, because I think some of the midfielders know where to drop in and sit deep, but then obviously that meant there was massive space between Schmidt and probably the midfield three. Then all of a sudden Danjuma got isolated, they couldn't get the ball to him. Dobbin looked like a lost soul out on the right, and then basically spent probably a good 40 minutes of the half basically tracking back and defending, because Nathan Patterson was getting torn to shreds. So in that sense, it was just kind of there was just Everton looked frail, and it looked like they had a lot of vulnerabilities, and Doncaster kind of opened up them vulnerabilities for all to see.
Yeah, it was bad. The first hour was bad. The last half an hour was much better, thanks to Beto.
Yes.
Obviously came on at half time. I think it was obviously going to happen, wasn't it, when the team was so bad in that first half. And to be honest, when he missed that chance with his left foot, I thought, oh no. That was the point where I sort of thought it's not going to be our night. And credit to him, he kept at it, didn't he? And the goal he scores is really, really good, isn't it? I think it sort of showed. When you watch all the YouTube videos of him before he came to us, and you sort of get an image in your head of what sort of player he's going to be, it was very much that type of goal, wasn't it? Using his pace, holds off the defender and knocks it past him, and just the only way to sort of, I think, to describe it's just a handful, wasn't he? I don't think he's going to be technically adept and pin defenders, take into feet and do little layoffs, but if you're knocking into the channel or knocking him behind, he's going to be really hard to stop.
He is, and I think that was the big takeaway from last night was he looked very much like a proper number 9. You know, he looked like he had the ability to lead the line and be a target man and be a focal point. You contrast that to what Yusuf Shemeti offers in the first 45 minutes. And I wrote this last night, well, in the analysis for this morning. That wasn't all his fault. And I think it'd be wrong for us to make a judgment off on him based off them 45 minutes.
Well, the ball just sailed over his head.
But what it did show is that Sean Dyche was right, what he said a couple of weeks ago, in that he is a long way from developing, from being a developed person to lead the line. He's still got a long way to go in terms of that progression up the ladder. What we saw last night from Beto, I think, is more of the finished article, which Everton, look, they needed to bring in the finished article. They couldn't just keep bringing in, you know, young kids who are unproven and untested. But it was just impressive. I thought he dealt. The moment for me that really summed him up, I took great kind of heart from, was the head that hit the post.
Yeah.
Where he got up and he put real direction. He was really unlucky with that, but like, it comes from nowhere. That just a ball into the box, and he's shrugged off his man, rose high and directed a powerful header towards goal. And I thought, wow, you know, that was quite impressive. You know what I mean? He didn't get obviously no reward for it, but I thought, well, that's quite a good aspect to see, because you suspect that Everton are going to look to pump balls into the box to him as we move forward in terms of a tactic of how to get him in the game, because I don't think Sean Dyche will want Beto playing with his back to goal 20-25 yards up the pitch, you know, because we're not going to score a goal, are we, that way? So that was a real positive thing for me. But yeah, I think just his overall impact, and I think how he kind of embraced being the number 9 as well. He didn't shake, he didn't, you know, even when he missed that chance, he didn't, you know, he didn't let his head drop. He, you know, a couple of minutes later, he got himself in the perfect position and provides the really neat finish. Okay, I know people will point and say, well, they're bottom of League 2. You know, this lad's meant to be an international centre forward. Shouldn't he be scoring goals? And that is correct, of course. But we've seen before, just because of the opposition doesn't mean that Everton forwards are going to score goals, does it? So for me, I thought it was just a really positive kind of mood lift, I think, for everyone. And it gives people hope now, I think, that he could actually come in and have an impact, because I think, you know, obviously he was the forward that people have long been craving for. But there's, like we've seen before, there's never no guarantee, is there, that someone coming in from a different league is going to immediately hit the ground running and adapt to the pace of the game and stuff, because the Premier League and English football is so different to what the rest of Europe serves up. So that was a real positive. He's like, cope with the physicality. You know, he can clearly put himself about, and he's not scared to, you know, to get him behind. And it's his turn of pace as well. Shocked me.
It's really fast.
He has a really strong turn of pace, and that struck me, because you don't necessarily associate a good turn of pace with a big number 9, do you? So that was a real positive for me, and hopefully, you know, that's the side of things to come up we saw on Wednesday night.
You can see like where they've obviously gone and thought, right, if we need to get someone who can do similar things to Calvert-Lewin, and they are different players, but you know, we've spoken about it loads in terms of that dual threat of being a big, strong boy. You can like win headers and do that side of the game and bully defenders, but also chase balls in behind the channel. You know, there's not many forwards who can do that, but he looks like he's got both of those attributes. And this is just another thing that came into me. I like watching him last night and seeing him celebrating with the fans at the end as well. And they're completely different players, but like his demeanour and like the way he celebrates, like one fist up in the air, like his baggy shirt, his baggy shorts. Like they
need to give him a shirt that fits. I suppose that the first day when he come on at half time, it's not the 1980s where it's like, you know.
Yeah, but he just sort of like cut a sort of figure, like he's reminded me like of Duncan for some reason. Yeah. Like obviously completely different players. Obviously he's played 45 minutes against the worst team in the Football League. But just like his demeanour, like in the way in which he carried himself afterwards, like he just sort of gave off that kind of aura. And I think, you know, you saw the fans chanting his name already. He's spoken today, hasn't he? He's absolutely loved all that. And listen, dead early. And we don't want to compare him to Calvert-Lewin or Douglas Ferguson yet by any means, but he's just got the aura and the body language of, and you know, and the playing style of a fella that's going to be really taken to by the Everton fans.
I think the big thing for me is that when you look at the forwards they've signed over the last couple of years, he instantly looks more at home than they ever did do at this point, or this, you know, in early stages. I think Moise Keane, for instance, you could tell he was, you know, needed so much work doing to him in his first couple of appearances that he was very much a work in progress. Neil Maupay, you kind of wonder how he was going to fit in and how he was going to kind of score a goal for Everton, because the system just didn't seem, the way Frank Lampard wants to play didn't seem to fit the way he naturally plays. You think of Solomon Rondon, he looked a million miles off the pace in terms of fitness wise. So for Beto to come in and kind of look more natural, look more at home, I think was a real boost, because obviously, like, we all know how tough it is for Everton to replace Dominic Calvert-Lewin, because I've said this before on the pod, one of the major problems that Everton have always had is when Calvert-Lewin is fit and firing, there's not many better centre forwards than him at what he does. So to try and bring someone in to replace that lad when he's not available is no easy task, especially when you're working in the financial constraints that Everton are.
And maybe that's why we shouldn't sort of underplay the value of just the goal, because you know all the players you mentioned there. You know, Rondon, it went. Did he go until November? He scored a Palace. That was his first goal, wasn't it? Keane, obviously, I think went into January in that mad 2-2 game. Mope scored one relatively early on.
West Ham September. Then
he's now on like a 30 game run or something like that without scoring. You know, we brought in so many of these lads who've just been so bad in front of goal. For him to sort of come on straight away and just break that duck and be like, that's done now. You know, I've scored a goal at least. You know, I've shown what I can do from that point of view. That has got to be important. And it's, I think you saw in him the relief, and he sort of looked a bit, a little bit angry after missing that chance, I thought. And then obviously he got the ball out the net after he scored. He's like, come on, let's sort of go. Breaking the duck and just getting off the mark early for your new club, I think, is so important, especially when we've been so bad. Going forward down the years. But we'll leave Doncaster for now, mate. We'll talk about Villa away, going back there again. Another time, because there's loads coming up. Deadline day tomorrow, as we said. You went to speak to Sean Dyche today. I'm asking him about all sorts of different things. We might be bringing somebody in, but at the moment, the big stories look to be players going out. And Damari Gray sort of simmered along all summer. We'll have to wait and see what happens there. But
they've got more time with him as well.
Yeah, of course.
If he's going to Saudi.
I mean, we haven't seen him, have we? So I think it looks like he's going to be going out the door. But the two deals that have sort of gathered momentum and speculations intensified over the course of the last 48 hours are Tom Cannon and Alex Iwobi as well. Reports doing the rounds today that Fulham in talks with him. Looks like a deal might happen for fees that have been reported to be in the region of 15 to 20 million pounds. Dyche himself said today that the things might be going on with Iwobi and Cannon. Taking Iwobi first, it's one of those deals, isn't it? One of these. Throughout his Everton career, he has been somebody who's split opinion so wildly. Like I don't think
no one's had opinion quite like him, do they?
I don't think anyone just thinks Alex Iwobi's just all right. He's either like amazing or he's horrendous. Like there's no middle ground with him. And unsurprisingly, this transfer has made people think this is an amazing deal or this is a horrendous deal. You're gonna where do you sit on this one? You're going to be sensible, I think, aren't you?
It's a good deal for Everton.
Yeah.
It's a good deal. I think the big thing. I mean, it is to my understanding as well that Fulham and Everton are in advanced talks over a deal. It does very much look like Alex Iwobi will leave before barring any major kind of, maybe not so much hiccups, but barring any kind of, an ability to agree a deal, that he'll probably leave Everton. And I think it's a good deal because I think I know 20 million's been suggested. It might not. I don't think it might not get to that level initially. It might be add-ons and stuff like that. But I think the big thing is he's out of contract next summer, and Everton at some point had to start recouping fees for players because you can't just keep letting players go every year for free. At some point, you've got to bite the bullet and say, well, actually, you've got 1 year left. We're cashed in on. You're going. Unfortunately for Alex Iwobi, that's what's happened. But I do think Alex Iwobi's maybe driven this transfer himself as well.
Yeah.
I don't think he's necessarily, come out and committed his undying love for Everton and wanting to stay around. Obviously, he's London-based initially from his time at Arsenal. And I think the thing that Iwobi always was interesting with me is when Frank Lampard was in charge, it was very much like we're opening contract talks with him. We want him to extend his stay. Sean Dyche then kind of come in and contradict himself at times in the sense of like he half confirmed that talks with Iwobi were still ongoing, but while saying at the same time that all talks about contracts and transfers have been parked until the end of the season because we want to focus on staying up. It appears to me that there's probably been no breakthrough in what Alex Iwobi maybe wants to stay at Everton and what Everton are prepared to give him. I also think as well Everton probably realised that what they get from is probably going to be a good deal, and at a time when they need to start recouping money and finances in to get to start remodelling themselves in a way, this is one of the best deals that they could get because they've not got many assets in the squad. I mean, we spoke about this at length, haven't we? Unfortunately, the better players, the players that you want Everton to keep are the assets, and no one really wants to see Jordan Pickford leave this summer or try to Branthwaite, for instance, because we've seen how good he was at the weekend. So for me, I think it's a good deal for Everton. I think if they can get money in, hopefully it gets done, I think, a little bit either tonight or first thing tomorrow, so it gives Everton 10 or 12 hours to try and bring someone else in. They are interested in Maxwell Cornet at West Ham. Obviously, Sean Dyche worked with him at Burnley, brought him to Burnley. I think they'll be looking to take him on loan more than to buy. Because I think there's concerns around Cornet's fitness as well, because he's been in and out with injuries. But you suspect that, in a straight trade, essentially, Cornet coming in for a Iwobi, one coming in on loan, and you're getting 15 million, maybe 12, 15, 20 million down the line for another player. That's probably a good piece of business from Everton, from where they are right now. And it'll be strange to see how Iwobi go, because although he's devised opinion, you can't deny he's been a big part of some of Everton's better moments. Certainly in recent years, you think of like the Palace game under Frank Lampard when he ends up at right back, and he played all over the pitch and he gave us all, and he was very much kind of at the forefront of that, getting the team over the line.
Newcastle goal,
which felt like a real turning point actually for him in his Everton career. That actually, even last season, he was probably the shining light at times when Everton pretty tired. I mean, just because he's done the basics, he ran rounds and got stuck in, but when you don't see players doing that every week, when ones do it, it stands out. So I think it'll be sad to see him go. I think he's been a good stalwart for the club, certainly in the last 18 months. He's worked hard, got his head down. But I just think for the money on offer and the type of transfer that this is one that Kevin Phillips and Everton can't say no to.
Yeah,
especially with the fact that they lose, if they keep him, they lose him. The chance he goes for free next summer anyway. So you've got to you've got to start recouping transfer fees for people who are in the final year of the contract.
Yeah, I completely agree. And like, I sort of feel like he'll go to Fulham and do well, and like there might be a spell where like he's playing well for them, and everyone's going, "Oh, why did we sell him?"
Well, people don't think they should be selling him now.
Yeah, so. Exactly. But like I sort of look at him now, and I think if you go back, we rewind to like this time last year when he's playing centre mid under Lampard, and Everton started the season like all right. He was, there's talk about him being one of the best players in the league, wasn't there, at that point? And I think we're having this conversation then, we're like, oh God, no, we can't sell him. Get him tied down to a new deal. I'm sure we were saying those things, but I think since Dyche has come in, he's played the right wing, hasn't he? Like you say, pretty much all of last season.
He's been right winger, has he? Basically, he's been right winger.
He played left wing in the opening 2 games this season, didn't he? Because we've got no wide players.
Square pegs and round holes.
But it just feels like there's no natural place for him in a Sean Dyche team. Really, so I kind of get the decision, but in the same breath, there'll be people out there, and I've seen people today putting all the stats up about how he's our most creative player. Our most energetic player. Crucially, apart from this little spell he's got now, doesn't really get injured. Plays pretty much every game when he's available. Plays 90 minutes in most matches as well. Do you think he's going to be tough to replace from that perspective? Because
I think he's already been replaced.
Yeah, by who?
I think by the fact that you look at Sean Dyche's signings, 2 of them have been wingers. Well, 3 essentially, and Ashley Young, which enables him to play Dwight McNeil.
And he sees him as a wide player, doesn't he, as opposed to a centre midfield.
Well, he's never played him in midfield, has he? And that's never really been in Sean Dyche's thinking. So I think the big telling point for me from all this was, when you look at Everton's signings, Ashley Young, who can play on the left back, left wing, Jack Harrison, who can play on either flank if needed, Arnaud Danjuma can play wide left. Dwight McNeil is obviously become one of Dyche's most proven, consistent players. So I think the writing in some respects has been on the wall for this one a little bit. Just because why would Everton be bringing in so many wide players if Sean Dyche was content with what Alex Iwobi offered him, wants to give him a new deal. So I think, once we get past the international break, hopefully like Jack Harrison, Dwight McNeil will be back available, and all of a sudden then that gives Sean Dyche real options, because he could, line up with Jack Harrison on one wing, Dwight McNeil on the other, and possibly got Danjuma in behind Beto or Calvert-Lewin. So, there's real options, and you don't really see how we'll be fitting into that picture, do you? Because he's not going to go and play in central midfield. He's not going to go and, be a forward player. So I think the writing has been on the wall for this one for a while, just by Everton's transfer activity this summer. Because if Dyche was, look, when you think about transfers, and Dyche said to himself, hasn't he, Everton have had to be basically really savvy in what they do and prioritise certain areas essentially, and target areas which they really, the fact Dyche brought in 3 wide players tells the story of what he thinks about his wide players, doesn't he?
Yeah,
without the exception of Dwight McNeil, who he clearly thinks very highly of.
We might get one more in still.
Of course, well, that's when Maxwell Cornell could end up coming in, so then he's another option. So yeah, I think, the fact you bring in so many wide players in hints, doesn't it, that maybe all was not what it seems behind the scenes.
And in terms of deadline day, just probably have a chat about Sheffield United. It's one of them, isn't it? Anything could happen, I suppose, from Everton's perspective. Still little links here and there that are emerging. Is there a position or an area of the team you think you'd like to see Everton sort of just go out and strengthen? Say they get 20 million for Iwobi through tonight and they've got a bit of room to manoeuvre tomorrow, because you wrote in your piece in your analysis this morning rather, and I completely agree that all of a sudden you're looking at both of those full back spots and thinking that is a bit of an issue, because I think Mykolenko had a good chance to stake a claim to start to the weekend if he'd played well, because I think Ashley Young's had a pretty poor start to the season.
Yeah.
But
a lot of goals have come via that side, haven't they, if I'm being honest.
But I don't think, being honest, I think Mykolenko was really poor last night. Patterson, I don't think, had a good start to the season. I saw a look at that, and I think we spoke about that in the week. It's like it's one of those, isn't it, where like all of a sudden all these things are creeping up on us. Like we're quite light there, and I'm quite light there, and I wouldn't mind a player there, but I think fullback. If we could just get someone who's dependable, who can play sort of both sides between now and 11 o'clock tomorrow night, I think I'd feel a lot better. And maybe a centre back and a midfielder as well. But
definitely left back for me. I just think watching last night made me think like Everton have got two left backs that aren't good enough. If I'm being honest, I've never been too.
One of them's not really a left back, is it?
No, and that feels harsh to have a go at Ashley Young, because I thought actually last night he looked better further up the pitch.
Yeah, definitely.
He actually looked better as a left winger. But Mykolenko for me he just don't the gaff out, didn't he? To use a phrase that the people on the Gladys Street probably use. He was just woeful. Like, if that was him trying to impress Sean Dyche, then he had probably done the complete opposite.
Well, he got in the Carabao Cup round 2 team of the round.
Did he?
Yeah. So apparently the stats said he did really well.
Good lord. I would like to see them stats.
Well, it's his first game back, being generous, but I know what you mean.
I think the problem with Mykolenko is there's still lasting memories of last season when he struggled.
Yeah.
And I think you saw then Dyche wasn't perhaps too keen on him. But he didn't really have the competition then, did he? Didn't really have, it was Ruben Vinagre, who was not fancied by Frank Lampard or Sean Dyche. So yeah, I think it's, with Mykolenko and left back, it's quite an interesting one, because it's probably one way to start. So we thought, well, we're just going to have to gamble. We've got other bigger priorities that we need to go after. But now all of a sudden, a few games into the season, going, oh, this is actually a problem. It's for Everton, and it's probably going to become fast a bigger problem when teams start realising that they're not very strong down the left. And you could end up, I think, in a position where, certainly when Everton start playing the better teams, you'll see Ashley Young playing left midfield and Mykolenko playing at left back, and he'll basically play 2 left backs basically, or defensively. Similar to what we used to see when David Moyes would play Seamus Coleman in front of Phil Neville when Gareth Bale has rock up at Tottenham to shore things up, because they do look vulnerable down the left and again down the right. I mean, it's quite sad, isn't it? I mean, I love Seamus Coleman. I think he's been an unbelievable servant to this football club, but it's still quite concerning that people actually talk about when Seamus Coleman's going to be back fit. Yeah. Because it still just feels like there's mad pressure on him, like him to get back fit and
serious injury as well.
So I don't know whether. Well, I suspect we might see James Garner right back on Saturday. Yeah, I thought he'd be looking more balanced with him at right back last night when he went there for the sort of first half of the second half. So obviously the injury to Mykolenko prompted Godfrey to go there and a reshuffle, but. Yeah, I think Garner will probably play right back, and I think Garner could end up being right back moving forwards. I mean, it's going to be tough, isn't it? Because we've got one game and a 2-week break essentially. So by the time Everton back in action on the 17th, who knows how the squad will look like? Everton could have Dwight McNeil, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, and Jack Harrison all back fit. So there'll obviously be more options. But yeah, I think if I was to be able to go and get one player for a position, I'd definitely be a left back, or ideally someone who could play left back or right back. You look like Timothy Castray, who went to Fulham, is from Leicester, and you're thinking, could he have not come in and done a job? And
someone like a Walker Peters,
a bit of flexible both sides. But yeah, the left is certainly a worry, I think, moving forward. And like I say, I just think Mykolenko doesn't feel like he's quite developed, maybe the way people thought he was going to with the club.
Yeah, let's move on to Saturday then. You said that you think Garner might start at right back. With that in mind, how do you think that the rest of the team could take shape? Because I think obviously the keeper's sorted, feels like the centre-backs are sorted.
But if we doesn't play Brownthwaite and Tarkowski then?
I mean, I mean, I don't even want to go back into Doncaster, but I mean, the centre-backs were not good, were they?
No, they also, if Ben Godfrey also follows in the footsteps of Michael last night and didn't send the perfect message to his manager of why he should be given a chance moving forward.
But I think Young will be left back, you'd imagine.
Gone at right back, possibly.
Yeah, and then I think from there, it's sort of like you've got Danjuma off your left, haven't you? The three in the middle of Anana,
Decore,
and Idrissa Gueye.
They pretty much pick themselves, don't they? Really.
Beto up front.
Wide right's the big issue, isn't it?
And then I don't think there's any way whatsoever he plays Dobbin there after the way in which he played in midweek. He said today, didn't he, that McNeil could be involved, but it feels like it'd be bench at best for him and Calvert-Lewin, who are both. Again, he sort of said they might be ready, but it feels like they're going to be more likely after the international break. So there's a big gap in the team there. I sort of, I like the idea of Garner going to right back because I think he's done well there in the past. I think he settled us down a little bit there last night when he went there. And let's be honest, Parsons had a pretty rotten start to the season, but I feel like he might have to just play forward because there's nobody else to play.
Patterson might benefit because of the holes in the squad, mightn't he? Essentially, you know what I mean? Not on form. Just
if Garner's at right back, there's nobody to play right midfield. No. Unless you do something really funky with the team set up, or you go to a back five or something mad like that. But I don't know. It feels like with that in mind, the manager is a little bit hamstrung already.
Yeah, I think this is one that maybe feels like Everton just need to get in there, try and get something, and get away, and then look to start them properly. I mean, I know we shouldn't really say that because they've tossed away 3 games, but 4 games it would have been by Saturday night. But yeah, it doesn't feel much confidence again of like you get a few knocks. Everton could potentially be offered very little. So I just think Patterson probably gets a stay of execution based on the fact that there's no one to go and play right midfield. Yeah. If Garner has to go right back. I don't think we'll see Dobbin start. I thought he struggled on Saturday, but offered flashes of promise. But last night, I think he just really couldn't get in the game. And the one moment that sums up for me was where he got the ball broke to him, and it looked like he could set Everton away on a counter attack where they had a massive kind of overlap, and he completely made the wrong decision, cut back inside, and by the time he passed it, got intercepted, and they nearly scored. Yeah. I think I wrote that in my ratings that like he had one chance and to get Everton away on the counter, and it nearly resulted in his own side conceding, which is very Everton. But yeah, I don't think we'll see Dobbin, and I think it's going to be a tough game as well. These are going to be right up for it because these will look at Everton and think smell blood a little bit and think, if we get at these, we'll get our first win of the season.
They had a go against City, didn't they, last weekend as well?
Obviously they're at home, it's a bit of a fortress, Bramall Lane, in terms of the atmosphere and stuff like that. So it's going to be a tough game for Everton, but I just maybe think that, I don't think he should, because I think he should be taken out the fire line a little bit, Nathan Patterson, but I think there's every chance he's going to start because of the lack of options available to Sean Dyche, unless Dwight McNeil somehow, Dyche has played an absolute blind yesterday and making us all think he's not quite ready when he is ready and he's going to unleash him. He might do because he might look at it and say, well, it's one game and then we've got 2 weeks off, so he's got time to relax and rehab. So I think it's going to be interesting, but I think as things stand, what we probably suspect is that Patterson will play it right back and Garner will play it right midfield.
Unless they go sign Yonto tomorrow morning, just get him in the team.
Very possibly, yeah. Or Cornet, or, Damari Gray makes a return.
Yeah. God.
I mean, there's options, just,
it's not here. It's not injured, Barry asks for a prediction. I just think it's going to go. It feels like it's not going to be a... I think people tuning in at half 12.
For the neutral, it's going to be a tough watch.
I think people tuning in at half 12 on the
For Everton supporters, it could be a tough watch as well.
I'm going to regret it.
But I think for any neutral football fan out there, this could be not one of the classics.
Yeah.
I'm going to go 2-1 Everton.
2 goals again. 4 goals in a week. Wow. I think Beto gives us a sniff. Just I think he's off something different. I don't think their defence is particularly good. So I'm going to go 1-1. Go 1-1.
Maybe interesting what they do, because they very much done a Ben Godfrey, Erling Haaland, last week on Erling Haaland in terms of they kind of man-marked him and got stuck in and made him. And you wonder whether they'll maybe adopt that approach if Beto does get an odd to start.
You saying Beto's as good as Haaland already?
No. You put words in my mouth, Matthew. But no, just like if they'll try and maybe rough him up a little bit and give him a bit of an introduction to English football, you know, and get stuck in, because obviously it will be his first introduction into Premier League football, and you know he's told the Premier League he's ready to play this division, so now he's got to, you know, let's talk and do the, you know, turn his words into action.
There you go. One goal in 45 minutes. That is a better ratio than Haaland, to be fair. So
it is, yeah. no pressure, Beto.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's been compared to Duncan, Calvert-Lewin, and Haaland already in this podcast.
If it gets 2 and 2, does we start putting him in the same bracket as Dixie?
Can he break Dixie's record? We'll get the pieces ready for Monday morning after he bags his hat trick. But Connor thinks we're going to win. I think it's going to be a draw. Let us know what you reckon in the comments. Let us know what you think about the team as well, and how Everton are going to line up. Who do you go with a fullback? Who do you go with on the right in midfield? They seem to be the biggest talking points. We'll be all over deadline day as well tomorrow here at the Liverpool ECHO. Do check out the website. Do check out Twitter. I'm sure we'll be doing a few little bits here and there on YouTube as well throughout the course of the day, going over ins and outs at Goodison Park. But that is the end of today's podcast. Cheers to Connor for joining me. We'll speak to you again very soon.